Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. As you can see, for those of you who know, he had an edition that was published by a popular publishing house. This is one of the self-published editions. Derek has been buying back any rights that he's given away and been publishing his own books, often at very low cost. Sometimes at cost he gives them away, but part of that is that he wants the message to get out. He's not interested in making money from the books because if you find out from this book, he set himself up very well financially and he has very low overhead, which I think is one of the secrets of wealth, right? Having enough money to take care of basic necessities and then making sure that your basic necessities are not significant. And so I think all the money from his books now goes to charity. So kudos to Derek. And this is the third edition of this book. However, having read the first edition, or at least the second edition, a couple times, I don't think there's that much different here. He may have tweaked a few words, he may have added some things here or there, but there wasn't any new idea that I came across. In the same way, if you watch Lord of the Rings Extended Edition, the scenes that you've never seen before will pop out at you. So I think, for example, there's a scene where Éowyn is singing at a funeral of one of the Rohirrim brothers. And you remember, oh, I've never seen that before. That's definitely an extended edition. So there wasn't any concept in here that I read from Derek where I thought, I haven't read that before. That's a really great concept. In part because there's just this universe of knowledge and thinking that Derek has out. But it doesn't matter in the sense of whether you have first edition, second edition, third edition. This is the third edition hardback is the one that I have. The ideas are still there, and they're still very relevant and helpful. And it says there's 40 lessons in here. I am not going to go through 40. I'm going to give you 5 that really stuck out at me, that really resonate, that are things that I do my best to apply in my business life and as well as my personal life. And one of the first ideas is about what is the purpose of building a company. And he says, when you make a company, you make a utopia. It's where you design your perfect world. And I think that's a wonderful idea in the sense of there are things that you don't like about other businesses, about workplaces, about companies. And in your company, it's your chance to do things your way. And so in this particular case, I think what I've taken away from what Derek is saying is doubling down on that, making sure that you are taking an active role in your company and not just saying, this is how it is and I can't do anything about it, but accepting that, well, how could it be otherwise? And making rules that fit your way of thinking and your way of approaching the world and business and life, as opposed to simply saying, well, everyone else does it this way, then why don't I do it that way? So your company is a blueprint for how you'd like to see the world. Treat it as such. Know your power. Know the ability to affect not just your own life, but those of your employees. Second lesson he really hammers home for me is proudly exclude people. And by that, he means that you can't please everybody, right? You can't please everyone, so proudly exclude people. And later on in the text, he says, confidently exclude people. And this happened recently. I suppose part of this teaching has seeped into my consciousness, so I can't say, oh, I was thinking of Derek when I did this recently. But I can say that I've thought over years of the idea of firing clients or not pursuing clients. There was a client who had communicated with me earlier in the summertime and had displayed a fair amount of interest, and then there was an email saying, hey, I'm going to get back to you next week. Radio silence for 4 months, well, since August, shall we say. And I think 2 weeks ago, I got an email saying, hey, we went down a different road, didn't work out, we'd like to potentially work with you, would you like to audition for us? And I had already told him in the very first interaction, I don't do auditions, I don't do contracts either. If you're not happy with my work, you can always get rid of me. But the way I was treated was such that he told me he was going to get back to me next week, he never did. And then he didn't apologize when he did for doing that, just sort of leaving me. And that happens in business. People forget about things. But the point is, he seemed to just want to pick up where he left off. And I thought, well, no, I'm not going to do that. Because if you're going to treat me like this before we're even in a customer customer-vendor relationship. I don't know what it's going to be like when I become a vendor of yours. So no. And I wouldn't use the term proudly, but I confidently excluded him as a customer. Part of that comes from knowing your niche. Where is it that I want to work? What sort of people do I want to work with me? But the other part of it is simply knowing I only want to work with a particular group of people, and part of that isn't just their genre. So let's say I do digital marketing for plumbers, which I don't, but I'm sure there's plenty of money in doing that. But if I wanted to do that, and then, a roofer comes along, say, well, I've still got plenty of work in plumbers, so I'm not going to be distracted. So it isn't just excluding people who aren't a fit for you niche-wise. It's also ability to exclude people who aren't a fit for you culturally. And if people are rude, they aren't a cultural fit for me. Hence, I feel comfortable excluding them. Proudly, as Derek says, proudly and confidently exclude people. Thirdly, and something that I love as an idea, especially I have at least one business with recurring revenue clients, is focus entirely on your existing customers. So a lot of times people are chasing new customers in part because they have to keep up with the churn that they have. So they have such a dramatic churn of customers that if they don't plug the holes in the churn, at some point they won't have any business left. But if your churn is slow or non-existent, then the way that you treat your existing customers will bring you new ones. And I think that that's a wonderful strategy. Don't worry so much about getting new clients. They will come if you treat your existing clients really well. And some people say, well, why don't you do both? Sure, try to do both. But every action in a business takes time. All the actions that take time require somebody to shepherd and complete those tasks. So unless you have unlimited employees or unlimited time, you have to make decisions on what you focus on. And I think the long-term payments are going to come from focusing entirely on your existing clients rather than worrying about bringing in new ones. So that's the third out of these 40 lessons that I really wanted to share. So the other, there's two more. One was just a fun story he brought up a couple times in the book, which I had never really thought about, but when he brought it up, I really liked it. But it was the idea of going to a fast food restaurant and being charged 25 cents for the extra sauce. And this really bothered Derek. Now, when I say really bothered, I don't mean, he cried himself to sleep about it, but he saw a really important business lesson. I'm flipping through, looking to find it now, and I don't think I can find it. Strange. But at any point, he asks, the question is that really what's going to make a customer happy? So if that's the idea, focus on existing customers and make them happy. Are my existing customers going to be happy about paying 25 cents for sauce? We know that things cost in life. Here it is. Contrast those with all the bad experiences you've had. Not letting you use the toilets without making a purchase, charging an additional 25 cents for extra sauce, and salespeople who don't give you a minute of their time because you don't look like big money. So we understand that you need to account for your costs in your business, but the way that you do it in this particular case, asking extra money for sauce, means that you make the customer feel like he or she is being nickeled and dimed. Why not just raise your baseline price of your products fractionally so that that sauce is covered, and raise it across all the clients as opposed to singling out this particular cost and making people feel that they're being nickeled and dimed. So something else to think about. And finally, something that I really love that I've begun to realize and speak about more over the years, which is advertising can't pay for the internet. The idea that, I'll just get a sponsor or I'll just get advertising, this continues to fuel the whole consumeristic culture that we have, which is a problem. It is not how society was constructed in the past. We were not primarily thought of as consumers who always needed to buy stuff, otherwise we would be bored. And if we don't stop that train, the entire world economy will crash. That's because we built a life of consumerism for ourselves. There are other ways to live. Most of society has lived them for many thousands of years, and somehow they built cathedrals and prospered. But somehow we need to have all of these products in order to be happy. And I think that the idea that advertising is going to pay for the internet is a crazy idea. You need to pay for it the way that you'd pay for any other good or service, by payment. So you'd have to pay for newspapers in the past, or you'd have to pay for someone to fix your shoes. Well, you can pay for people to write as well. That has to happen. Otherwise, there's no future, unless you want to be bombarded with ads. And he said, when you ask your customers what would improve your service, has anyone said, please fill your website with more advertising? So advertising can't pay for everything. You have to find alternative ways to pay. And what I'm loving, and let's say this video is an example of that, you have other ways to compensate people for what they're doing. You don't have to click on an ad or, God forbid, watch an ad. You can simply click on a Patreon, which, shameless plug, down below in the description, you can do that if you'd like to support this work. But my point is still, you can do that for creators in general. People have to stop feeling entitled to things being free because advertising has given them the impression that things are free. That's not how life works. And every vote you make for advertising is a vote for a consumeristic culture. And this goes back to the idea of, what is the world that you want to create? In a meta way, is my business a business that is going to contribute to the narrative of consumerism? Or is it about adding value and charging people appropriately to add that value? And that means direct subscription as opposed to needless and waste everybody's time advertising. So be it. So the book says 40 lessons for a new kind of entrepreneur. I hardly agree that they are. Some lessons will resonate with you more than others. You might, as I did, have 4 or 5 particular ones that really resonate with you, and then you can share your own video and send a comment so I can watch it. But in any case, strongly recommended. Please hit like or subscribe if you'd like this work to be found by other people. There'll be a link below to buy the book, although you can also go to Derek's website to do that. But if you'd like to support this channel, one way you can do it is by buying books directly from my links. So Patreon, Bookshop, hit like, hit subscribe, and until next time, enjoy your reading.